From the outside, this neighborhood looks perfectly safe, ideal even, like many in the U.S. But looks can be deceiving. The power to take someone else's freedom lies inside many of these pretty houses. Millions of people sit in their homes and view pornography online. Internet porn helps drive the sex trade industry and has fostered an increase in prostitution worldwide. The church is not immune. Pornography used by those professing to be Christians is almost as high as those who profess no religious belief. It is this incredibly huge demand that takes this otherwise normal suburban house and turns it into a potentially lethal weapon against poor, desperate women halfway around the world. Demand here is met by supply here. This is Thessaloniki, Greece, 5,542 miles from our Joyce Meyer Ministry headquarters in St. Louis, Missouri. Thessaloniki is located between the economically depressed countries of Eastern Europe to the north and the ports of the Mediterranean Sea to the south. Here, prostitution is legal and accepted by society. This makes it the ideal place to traffic women. It's really disconcerting to know what is happening behind the scenes, because when you walk through the city, it seems like nothing could be happening. How is it all happening? Where's it going on?
Official statistics say up to 70% of Greek men use prostitutes. So you just have to do the math. It's a supply and demand issue. That if something is legal and such a huge percentage of the population is using this, then you need to get girls from somewhere. And so because it's legal, it's hidden. It's hidden behind these apartments, so they look all fantastic. Just normal looking apartments. In Greece, there's just a little white light outside and it means that you can go in. And because there's no shame involved, people just walk in and out. More than 90% of all registered prostitutes in Greece are not Greek girls. They're from surrounding countries, often trafficked into the sex trade. So while prostitution is legal, what is happening to these girls is certainly not. The trafficking absolutely.
aspect
It's
of
totally illegal, but it's very hard to prove because you've actually got to get in and find the girls and get the girls to testify. And that's really what we're involved in helping to do work behind the scenes to bring girls out so that they will testify and say, I don't want to be a part of this, I was forced to do this.
The A21 campaign is dedicated to reaching young women one at a time and helping them to understand the life that God really desires them to have. I'm here in one of the beautiful homes in Thessaloniki. There are actually two in Greece, there's one in the Ukraine, and more on the way. It's a safe place where these girls can relax and learn how much God loves them and how to begin again for their lives to be restored. It's important for you to note that we can't show you the outside of this house, the actual location, or any of the girls' faces because their lives are still in danger.
Πρώτα είμαι από Λευκορωσία.
I'm from Belarus.
Ήρθα εδώ για δουλειά.
I came here to find a job.
Μη είπαν να δουλέψω σε
They told me I would work in a coffee shop as a waitress, but it turned out a whole different story. It was all a lie.
So they were promising you a good job, making better money than you could make in your country at
Ναι,
home?
εννοείται. Εκεί που δούλευα και να το πει.
Yes, of course. I was the job that I had in Belarus. I was getting $20 per month, whereas coming here I was promised $1,000 per month.
When did you find out that it was not at all what was promised? What happened?
Όταν ήρθα εδώ,
When I arrived here and I was locked in this apartment. Yes, I was very nervous and I was scared, and I didn't know what was happening. I thought they were going to kill me. There was 5 other girls in the apartment where they explained to me what I was brought here to do. I didn't want to do it, but when the guy that brought me returned to the apartment, he beat me up and he kept me in the bed, and I had no choice.
So at that point, you were raped for the first time and understood that they wanted you to be a sex worker?
Хто ти катала? Вибачте, я її там...
Yes, that was when it first happened, and the other girls explained to me how the whole thing worked and what they required of us. We would work all night and then sleep during the day. We would get a meal to eat at some point during the day, and then they would wake us up in the evening to start work again. The boss would come at any point that he liked and do whatever he wanted with us.
There are a couple different ways that girls can be entrapped also. I mean, there is economic entrapment, and then there is physical entrapment where they are being held, and that plays a big part in all of this.
It is really quite horrific. A lot of the girls, when they're brought over, they're taken, so they think they're going to get a job in a cafe, say, but they'll be taken and then physically locked in just an apartment like one of these apartments and, you know, raped many, many times a day to break their defences down. Once their passports are taken, their papers are taken, they don't have language skills, they're battered and bruised.
Chris says many times traffickers will dress in law enforcement uniforms, causing the girls to think they can't even get help from the police.
It's fear-based. Most of trafficking in Europe, it's fear-based. So it's the threat that if you do not do this, we will kill you or we will kill your family. And because they have brought them here under the guise of a job, they know where their family lives, they know where they live, and all of it, and police would say this too, 99% of it is fear-based. So they're trapped because often the pimp is very close by, and if they even look at someone the wrong way, they will be beaten. Maybe their family back home in Bulgaria or Albania will be taken, and it is not uncommon at all, and the authorities would say this, where either a mother or a father is killed to keep the girl in fear and to keep her working over here.
Many of the girls are being forced into the pornography industry. Traffickers send images of their slaves over the internet.
They'll take them into rooms, and some, you know, we will go and see some of these buildings where rooms are converted into, you know, kind of like sites that then there's web cameras that come directly into the room, and the girls are filmed, whether it's a client that comes in and pays or girls are forced to do things to one another. So you can't isolate it and say this issue is just a Greek issue or a Bulgarian issue or a Moldovan issue or a Southeast Asian issue. It's actually an issue that, you know, demand for what is happening here is fueled by things happening in North America, in Australia, where I'm from. I mean, all over the world, in seemingly nice living rooms, in nice middle-class homes where people go to work and come home and maybe even go to church on a Sunday. The bottom line is what is happening in their room that they think is disconnected from reality.
They're not hurting anyone.
Oh yeah, and they often, I think it's the nature of fantasy. You think that this isn't really happening, but you're not sitting in a movie that's been made in a fantasy film studio in Hollywood. Where this film is being shot horrifically is right here in one of these apartments with a real life human being that is somebody's daughter, that is somebody's sister. There's one thing with putting ambulance on the bottom, and we've done that. We've got a shelter, we've got a transition home. But if we're going to stop human trafficking globally, then we have to put some nets at the top of the cliff, and we have to say, okay, so sitting in the Midwest in America, in your great home, in a nice living room, you have got to connect what you're doing with this global issue of trafficking. And when we can stop that and stop people buying and fueling the demand for pornographic magazines, fueling the demand for pornographic websites, then you know what? That's going to stop the supply. It's actually not complex, but we all must take personal responsibility. It's not just saying, let's just stop trafficking in Greece. It's saying, let's look at our own behaviour right here in America, in Australia, and saying perhaps we need to make some adjustments in our own life that will help stop this global sex trade.